Rosetta. No, if only you were normal. Then I would not have to grovel at that lowborn's feet to humor his every whim. Maxi's half-sister Rosetta was like a rose in full bloom. At the mention of her, what little defiance Maxi had mustered slipped from her grasp, like water through her fingers. She had turned deathly pale, but her father was relentless. King Reuben may wish to make Riftan Calypse his son-in-law, but there is nothing he can do if Calypse refuses. If only you had managed to win your husband's affection, you would not be facing a divorce. You have no one to blame but yourself. But he left for the campaign the day after the wedding. Maxi had hardly had a chance to talk to Riftan, let alone win his affection. But just as she was about to give voice to that protest, her vision flashed white as her father slammed his cane into her side. The pain was so severe that she curled over, gasping for breath and unable to scream. "How dare you talk back to me?" the Duke demanded. "Just thinking about your wretched impediment is enough to infuriate me." Maxi nodded, in desperate submission, lest he strike her again. The Duke's lips twitched, as if he was readying himself to spew forth another stream of vitriol. A knock at the door saved Maxi. The Duke spun to face the sound, and he was addressed by the meek voice of a maidservant. "Your Grace," she said, "the Remdragon Knights have arrived." "Show them in." Maxi's face flushed with terror, and she finally raised her gaze to meet her father's. The Duke hissed through gritted teeth. "Make it very, very clear to Calypse that the marriage will not be annulled. And a reminder, should you have forgotten, if you bring shame upon our house, you will have a price to pay." The Duke stormed out of the room. When she was sure he was gone, Maxi slumped against a window. She tried to slow her breathing as she waited for the throbbing pain to subside. The light of the autumn sun streamed in through the window, and Maxi blinked back her tears. Crying would only serve to drag her deeper into the abyss, where her sorrows would consume her. Maxi clasped her shaking hands together. She had to collect herself. For a noblewoman, divorce was akin to death. Not only would she be ridiculed, but she would also disgrace her entire family. It was an unspeakable dishonor, and a duel was the only path to redemption. But a duel? Against Riftan Calypse? The Duke of Croyso had no sons, and none of his relatives or sworn knights would stand the slightest chance against Riftan. He was a swordmaster who had felled a dragon. Who could possibly match him in combat, let alone best him? It seemed inevitable that she would tarnish her family name. The Duke would never forgive her. It was possible he would even kill her with a timely accident before the annulment was complete. Such machinations were not beneath her father. I must do all I can to prevent something like that. But would Riftan Calypse listen to her? Maxi bit her lip. She was trapped at the edge of a sheer cliff, with no way to safely descend. After all, her marriage had been arranged solely for the convenience of the Duke and his knights. 3 years prior, when news spread across the continent that Sector the Red Dragon had awoken from its slumber, King Al-Nu'ima Reuben III called his vassals to arms, to embark on a campaign to subdue the beast. Duke Croyso and his forces were bound by law to participate, but he had found a way to shift his duty to Riftan Calypse by marrying off his daughter. Maxi shuddered, recalling her wedding day. The air had been thick, with thinly veiled insults, whispered among the guests. As a lowborn knight, Riftan had no choice but to obey the Duke and appear at the wedding hall. Just how much resentment had he felt? How humiliated must he have been? That day, Maxi had been terrified of Riftan's expression. He had looked as if he was holding something back. If I were half as beautiful as Rose, could I have won his heart? Such thoughts deepened Maxi's torment. Riftan Calypse was a stunning man, even Rosetta, who often